Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Today we're welcoming Matteo Franceschetti, the CEO of 8 Sleep, a company focused on using technology to help people optimize their sleep, fitness, and efficiency. Most health coaches know that sleep is one of the most important, impactful, and often overlooked aspects to health improvement and maintenance. Matteo's point of view is that we should be putting as much mental energy into our sleep workouts as we do our fitness workouts, which is a really interesting way of looking at it. Sleep, for most of us, is just the thing that happens at the end of the day, and there's intentionality lacking there. 8 Sleep produces products that help thermoregulate the body to enhance deep sleep, and they've collected an enormous database of sleep data, which they use for further product development. The science of sleep is one that is ready for the spotlight, and Matteo's organization is leading the charge. We'd love to have you screenshot your podcast player and tag us on Instagram at Health Coach Radio. Don't forget, the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes of Health Coach Radio can be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. Now, good coaches know that sleep is crucial and can educate to that importance lecture style with their clients in a typical student-teacher paradigm. But great coaches help co-create health goals alongside their clients, nurturing the understanding about the importance of health topics like sleep from within. And this is exactly what I teach our students in the Primal Health Coach Level 2 certification course. Not only will you learn and practice advanced coaching skills, but this course also satisfies the educational requirements to enable you to sit for the NBC HWC credentialing exam so you can become a board-certified health and wellness coach. Stay tuned to the end of the show where Laura will explain a little bit more about what we teach. In the meantime, head to primalhealthcoach.com/level2 to get more info. Sleep is one of the most exciting health topics we love talking about, and I'm not just saying that because I wear the melatonin molecule around my neck. We know you're going to love this sleepy deep dive with our incredible guest, Matteo Franceschetti.
All right, Matteo, welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you. As I mentioned before we started recording, Erin and I are big fans of sleep. Big fans of sleep.
I was trying to show you. I'm wearing my melatonin molecule necklace.
Nice.
Erin wears melatonin around her neck. That just tells you how important she finds sleep. So this is going to be fantastic. So would you mind, we like to start every interview with you just sharing, 3 to 5 minute backstory on you, how you got here and how you started your company.
Yeah, sure. Born and raised in Italy. I was an athlete when I was a teenager. I was doing ski races, but mainly tennis tournaments. I studied law, became a lawyer, worked at 2 of the largest law firms in UK and Italy. And then I became an entrepreneur. So I did 3 companies so far. The first one was in Europe, that was in clean tech, in solar, and it was acquired. Then I did another company in clean tech, but in the US. And then finally I started 8 Sleep, where we really developed technology to compress your sleep and save your life.
Ooh, wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, please tell us more. So technology to compress sleep. Tell us what does that mean?
Yeah. So our hypothesis and what we're working on is that there is a large part of the time that you spend asleep that is light sleep, right? And we have hypotheses about the fact that the light sleep is just an inefficiency of your body to then really achieve the amount of deep and REM that you really need. And so we are exploring ways to help you get into deep sleep and REM faster or for a longer period of time, minimizing the amount you spend in light sleep. Our customers are already falling asleep faster, right? Falling asleep close to 15 minutes faster. So they are already compressing their sleep to a certain degree. But the vision is, what if you could sleep only 6 hours and get more rest than when you were sleeping 8 hours?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Like, how deep can we go into this, honestly? Like,
Very.
I want to dive into this a little bit, like, but first from a practical standpoint, I think this is really interesting because I have a lot of clients that will say, "Oh, I get 8 hours of sleep, but I'm a pretty light sleeper." No, they'll
Mhm.
describe
Oh
themselves
yeah.
as a light sleeper, right? So people describe themselves as a light sleeper. They're not talking about the light sleep that they've tracked on their Oura ring. They're just identifying as a light sleeper. Oh, the slightest thing wakes me up. If the cat jumps on the bed, if my husband breathes, whatever. But to me, it's because they're not getting into deep sleep. Like they're light sleepers because they're not getting into deep sleep.
Mhm.
Okay, so where do we start with this? Laura, help me out here. Where do we
Well,
start?
I'd love to know. So you've started three businesses. The first two around clean energy and solar. What prompted you to start this business? It's a very different business. I'd love to hear a little bit of that journey and what sparked you to get this started.
Yeah, a couple of things. So first, the background as an athlete. So I have always been into recovery and energy, which is really what we are trying to do here at Eight Sleep. Through sleep, we want to fuel human potential. So we want to give you peak energy and recovery. The second thing is before starting Eight Sleep, I was the typical entrepreneur working long hours, and I started wondering why Elon Musk is taking me to Mars, but I still spend a third of my life on a piece of dumb foam. Right? If you look at the past 2,000 years, nothing changed in sleep. We still go to our bedroom, we lie over a piece of foam or whatever, and we just expect to wake up 8 hours later fully refreshed. That doesn't make much sense with all the technology that we have embedded in our life. So we started looking into that, and I started looking into, okay, why do I need to sleep 8 hours? And what you realize is that it's not that you really need 8 hours, and that is the foundation of our hypothesis, is you need a certain amount of deep sleep and REM, and that is what makes you feel good and gives you the right energy. Then to achieve that amount of deep and REM, you usually, on average, rule of thumb, need 8 hours. But it's different for everyone, and it's different based on different conditions. I think the example you were just making of, maybe people might be sleeping 8 hours, but then they still don't feel good because those 8 hours, they didn't achieve 20+% deep sleep or 20+% REM.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
20+% deep sleep, 20+% REM. Is that the benchmark that you're going for? Yeah. Okay.
No. So first everyone is different. For me, is 18%, but it could range anywhere, right, from 15 to 25 of the is based on individual, is based on age, and is based on external factors.
Got you. Okay, so I agree with Aaron. I hear from client, and as a matter of fact, I myself have personally identified as a light sleeper at a certain point in my life. I sleep much better now than I did when I was younger, but I'm also, my body's healthier, my brain is healthier, my hormones cycle, my circadian rhythm is all better. And I have heard anecdotally, and so I'd love your opinion on this, of people that are like, oh no, I have to get 8 hours or I'm a mess. But then there's others that just legitimately feel great on 6 hours of sleep. So I guess my assumption then, based on kind of what you just said, is some of those people that legitimately do feel well and function very well on 6 hours of sleep are just getting deeper sleep in that 6 hours. They're more efficient. Like, how would you give me your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think there is a good explanation of that in Why We Sleep from Professor Matthew Walker, right? And the bottom line, based on the data he reports in the book, is really 99.9% of human beings, they really need between 7 and 9 hours.
Mm-hmm.
If you are the 0.01%, there are, and usually there is a genetic change. So is a genetical thing that you have that allows you to sleep less without impacting your health and still feeling good. So it's not just their type of efficiency in their sleep, it's just because of this genetic modification, the amount of sleep they need overall. But at the end of the day, what I can tell you is 90% of how you feel in the morning is based on the percentage of deep and REM that you got. And an example, very simple, if you want to reverse engineer, is if you have sleep apnea, you can sleep 10 hours every single night, but because you are not going to get to these percentages, you will not feel good. And so, again, our hypothesis that we are trying to validate through data is that light sleep is the inefficiency that you need in this 90-minute cycle to then achieve the amount of deep and REM you need.
Okay. Well, are you open to talking about how you help people create more efficient sleep?
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of different ways, right? The first one we are already tackling is through temperature. There is plenty of medical evidence that through temperature, you can fall asleep faster, which we already see through our data. You can get more deep sleep. If you go on Twitter, there is dozens of people that report data from their Aura and their Whoop that they're getting more deep or REM with our device. And that for us is the best validation, because it's not our data saying it, it's Whoop or Aura saying that since when they started using the device, they're getting higher quality of sleep. Then we also see less wake ups, and we also see, I think, 30 or 40% less toss and turns, right? So overall, the sleep with the temperature regulation is just becoming more efficient and restful.
Okay. So are we dropping body temperature then using this device? Is that because typically we know, like, you know, during deep sleep, your body temperature drops, and then as you wake up, your body temperature warms. So is that the theory behind your temperature regulation, or does it go deeper than that?
It goes deeper. I mean, there are a couple of different things, right? So first, you need to identify a temperature that you like to fall asleep when you get in bed, but this temperature cannot be too cold. If it's too cold, your extremities will be cold, your heart rate accelerates, and you don't fall asleep. Second, in deep sleep, the tendency is to go as cold as possible. Obviously, there are some ranges. But then, for example, in the second part of the night, in particular when you get more REM, the approach is different and is about thermal neutrality. And the reason is your brain doesn't let you get REM if you are in an environment that is too hot or cold, because while you're dreaming, the brain deactivates temperature control in the body, and theoretically you could die if you were in a storm, right? And so the brain is looking for thermal neutrality to make sure, to let you get into REM.
Okay. So in REM, the brain, I was jotting notes as you're saying that, in REM, the brain has deactivated its ability to observe temperature. Is that?
Or
deactivates temperature control in the body, your brain.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Amazing. I just have a question about this from like a really, I'm sorry that I'm getting like a nerdy kind of evolutionary biology standpoint. So like we're lying out under the stars, sleeping, in caves, let's go there. Like we wouldn't have the ability through evolutionary biology to regulate our temperature to these kinds of like degrees. Do you have any thoughts on that? You know what I mean? Like whatever temperature it was outside or ambiently is what temperature you'd be dealing with. You know what I mean? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, your body temperature changes, right, based on your circadian cycle already during the night. That's why when you hear people saying, oh, you should sleep at 68 degrees the whole night, it's just wrong. And the reason is 68 degrees might work for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, but definitely 100% not for 8 hours. And so obviously in the past, if you go back, 5,000 years, people were falling asleep, the night was coming, which was colder, which it follows what we do today. And then as the morning comes and the sun comes, temperature starts rising again, which is exactly what your body needs and what our device does. So we are not really reinventing the wheel in terms of body temperature. We are just enhancing what your body would already do on its own.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. It's like, because we're so used to sleeping under these huge blankets, that's kind of where the mismatch, the environmental mismatch is in modern life. We're like, let's get that heated blanket, let's go with the big duvet. And we're not enabling that natural fluctuation up and down of energy.
Actually, if you think it, the opposite is happening, because what happens is this: you get in bed, you get covered with your blankets, your body starts dissipating heat, the heat gets trapped into the foam of your mattress. And so your bed is just becoming warmer and warmer and warmer during the 8 hours. It doesn't have any drop in temperature, which we all know is instead what you need.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I noticed this about myself, and interestingly, dating myself, but I will be 50 in April, and I must be premenopausal, because there are definitely, I go through episodes episodically, hormonally, just my own menstrual cycle, where it's harder for me to just manage my own body temperature. And I notice that I will go to bed cold, and throughout the night, I'm waking up because I'm hotter. And I'm having a hard time kind of regulating sort of that body temperature. But I also, to kind of tag back to Erin's point, as far as from an evolutionary biology standpoint, and today in blankets, there's also a lot that we are doing today, just generally throughout the day, that are out of sync with just our normal living patterns. How we're eating, a big one, how we're expending energy throughout the day, and whether the body's actually tired, and kind of what's happening hormonally there, and all of that, not to mention the stress and the cortisol and endorphins that are running through us just because we're stuck in traffic. Have you guys done research at all on the impact of changes in diet, changes in movement, and stress, and how all that's impacting sleep, and then how your device? So is your device designed to basically help clients overcome all this nonsense? Or as part of the advice, look, let's kind of fix the underlying issue too, and then we can continue to optimize it from there?
So yeah, we have done something, and I share what we have done. The way you could do it is, there are two ways. There is a sort of automatic way, and there is a more active way. The automatic is, we can pull data from your Apple Health, and we can correlate that data to your sleep. And so, for example, if you decide to connect obviously our device to your Apple Health, and so in that case, we could see all your fitness activity if you, for example, have an Apple Watch. And we have run a couple of correlations between all the different types of exercises. And so, for example, we have seen that yoga is one of the most impactful in a positive sense on your sleep quality and time to fall asleep. And we have looked at running versus other type of sports or high intensity interval training. Then different type of studies that require an action from the users. What we have done is about alcohol and caffeine. So we have seen how alcohol and caffeine impact your sleep. What we really realize is, obviously there are guidelines and rule of thumbs, like, oh, you should stop drinking coffee 8 hours before going to bed, or you should stop drinking X hours before going to bed. The reality is everything is different for everyone. So you really need to test on yourself. In my specific case, I stopped drinking coffee 8 hours before going to bed. And another thing I stopped doing was drinking alcohol. So in April 19 is when I completely stopped. And the reason is not sleep alone. Alcohol has a couple of effects. It has an impact on your heart rate at rest. It has an impact on your HRV, so your recovery. And then it also has an impact on the quality of sleep overall. So maybe you had a couple of drinks and maybe you feel like, oh, now I'm more relaxed. But the reality is the quality of sleep you will get that night will be way lower than what you usually get.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I see it as a health coach, Erin. I'm sure you do too. And just from my past career, this was very common in sort of the realm that I worked in, a very stressful sort of corporate professional role where I had to use coffee to wake my ass up in the morning, usually a couple of cups. I started to find that if I had coffee past 1, 2 o'clock, I did not sleep well. Okay. So I knew to quit that, but still, because of the stress I was under, and I also know I was having blood sugar problems at the time, but I would have 1 or 2 glasses of wine in order for me to fall asleep, which I now know I was just knocking myself unconscious. I wasn't actually sleeping, but then I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning as a result of that alcohol, the toss and the turn. And so then I don't sleep well. And so then you create this vicious cycle that I need coffee and caffeine to wake up, and then I need wine and alcohol to fall asleep. And it just this vicious kind of feedback loop that drives all that. And so I don't think that's any secret, is the point. But I got to tell you, it's 2 of the toughest things to shake clients loose from, those 2 particular substances.
But they're also 2 of the most impactful.
Yes.
If they nail it, they will see the benefits immediately.
Mm-hmm. Have you done any research on CBD?
No, not directly. We have read some research and papers where there are sometimes conflicting results. I'm testing myself some CBD products instead than melatonin, but I don't have hard data yet.
Yeah. I don't know, my own like sleep experiments, I found that the temperature thing was a massive, massive game changer. So I use a device that cools my bed. Although it's not as slick as what you're describing because it just stays the same temperature the whole night.
Right.
Blue light blocking glasses were massive, massive impact on my deep sleep. When I was tracking on my Oura Ring, I don't wear it anymore, and then I did a CBD experiment, and I mean, this is all anecdotal, but it was like, I'm already a good sleeper and I was seeing just obvious upticks in my data. Who knows, all placebo stuff, right? But I just think this stuff's really cool. I want to go back though to the exercise because yoga makes sense. Like that makes sense. If you're doing yoga, it's, that makes sense. To me as a person who does yoga, that makes a lot of sense. But like, what activities did you see that negatively impacted sleep?
Yeah, so one of the things we noticed was another thing that really matters is when you exercise, even more than the type of exercise. And I see it on my body as well. So if I train in the late afternoon or early evening, I will struggle to fall asleep and the quality of my sleep will be lower. My body temperature changes because my body is still dissipating heat from the workout. And so that is another thing that everyone should test. In my case specifically, now I train always only in the morning or 90% of the time.
So if that's the case, so I'm just, again, putting my coaching hat on and I'm working with a client whose number one reason for not working out is I can't find the time. And perhaps that's the only time they can work out is sort of after work. Do you have some recommendations there or anything that you found as far as the type of exercise, if it has to be that late, or mitigation strategies? Perhaps that this is what your device does. Look, if this is your only shot to hit up a class or go for a run is at 5:30 at night, this is how our device can help sort of mitigate the issues that we're finding with working out too late. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so that is exactly where we are going, right? And I think it's extremely likely we will be there soon. And the reason is it's just a matter of data. And so at that point, we want to guide our customer to test different type of trainings, right? There could be some trainings that create too much body heat because it's, I don't know, high intensity versus a yoga, or other types of exercises that are too competitive. And so no, they push your mind to race. And so I think the biggest challenge right now in the world in a lot of these things is there is not enough data to really know. And the other big thing to me, I'm a big fan of what is now personalized medicine or personalized health, where everyone is different. Maybe your body recovers super well from a 10 kilometers run at high intensity. Mine does not. The key, at least what we are seeing, is always also a matter of what's the time in between the alcohol or the exercise and the time you go to bed. In my case, I go to bed quite early, around 9:30, but maybe your client goes to sleep at 11:30, and so it's still fine for her to train at 5:30 p.m.
Okay. Interesting. And so, but really fundamentally, other than the fact that yoga seems to be additive, you haven't found any particular type of exercise good or bad, or is it really more about overtraining that's the issue more so than the type of exercise?
It's overtraining. Obviously, the other thing when you run this test that is always challenging is what other factors are involved, right? Because obviously we see automatically what kind of training they had, but what did they eat, right? So for example, another thing, there was, I recently read a paper that was talking about carbs, and carbs, they help you to fall asleep faster, but then the quality of your sleep drops during the night because of the digestion impact of that. And so I think over time, we will start collecting more data. One of the things we are developing is what we call tags. And so in the tags is when we will discover if you had alcohol or not, what kind of food you had, and all these other factors. And then our machine learning models will be able to just analyze everything quickly.
I want to on the technology side. So is that all tracked through an app, or is you mentioned that it syncs up to like your Apple Health app, or is it synced with the Oura Ring and the Whoop band as well? And then is also the user filling in a questionnaire kind of thing to help you collect this data?
Yeah. So what we're working on, and we will release this concept of a questionnaire, is like a tag. You can tag different things. Did you have alcohol? How many drinks? Did you have coffee? How many times? Did you do this? Did you do that? Then there is a bunch of data that we have automatically, right? What time you went in bed, what time you woke up, and heart rate, HRV, all that, we have it because we track it. And then if you have any other device connected to Apple Health, that it could be your Aura, you could be your Apple Watch, and you tag it on, you toggle it on in our app, then we can see that data as well. And the idea is our machine learning collect all this data, and then they develop recommendation and correlations.
Wow. Well, I actually like that for my clients to do. Like, I would like my clients to log into an app and, diarize, like almost like a sleep diary. Like, my sleep last night was unrestful, and here's some of the inputs that might have contributed to it. So I think it's a neat exercise even from a end user perspective to say, oh, I had 2 glasses of wine, and I had a big bowl of potatoes at dinner, or whatever it might be, to start making these correlations. So you're going to take this data though into your organization and continue to tweak the technology based on what you're seeing users. Yep. That's amazing. Yep. That's so cool.
We're already doing most of that except the tagging, which we have in beta internally, and we will release soon.
Well, and I can see like just how powerful. So this is where, look, there's 2 sides to every coin. We've talked a little bit about the power of tracking anything really, whether it's calories, carbs, protein, how, workouts, like steps, whatever, from a coaching perspective, sleep quality and inputs. So, you have one side of the equation where that's too fussy and my clients are going to run aground and they're not going to get involved because it takes too much time and too much effort. And then there's the other side of the coin of, if we can get them to do it for even a week, the amount of insight that people can gain and the buy-in we then get with a willingness to continue that behavior because they're starting to see these correlations themselves. So, I just want to, I guess, from a coaching perspective, appeal to coaches to be open-minded about this stuff and track the right things, the things that are really going to, motivate the client without overburdening them. And this is where certain technologies can be very helpful because it's a lot easier than keeping a spreadsheet someplace or writing things down in a diary if it's just automatically tracked and all you needed to do was strap on an Apple Watch.
And the other thing too, though, is that, if you like the sleep diary example, like a client would do that if they had a bad sleep. Oh, I had a bad sleep last night. Here's all the things that maybe, here's what I did. But if they have a good sleep, there's no way of like you know what I mean? They're not tracking their good nights of sleep to kind of put 2 and 2 together to see what made their sleep good.
Well, and you know what? I don't know about you, Erin, but when I ask clients about how they feel, how they feel about their sleep, I get a lot of just ambiguity sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes people are like, I'm a champ. And other people are like, I'm terrible. But I get a lot of people in the middle that don't really know. Probably because they've always sort of had okay sleep for so long and don't realize how much better they can be. And they just chalk up the fact that they're craving carbs all the time or they're tired all the time to the fact that they're just busy and getting older. When in reality, there's probably a lot under the covers there on just the quality of sleep they're getting generally. They've just accepted this as a fact of life, so to speak. Can you speak to a little bit about kind of how the technology you've built might be able to kind of help highlight or bring to the forefront for people just how good or bad their sleep really is and what they can do about it?
Yeah, 2 things. The first one, we will let you know how you do compared to similar peers, right? So people in your age or in your gender and maybe with a lifestyle similar to yours. And so you will immediately realize, okay, are you in the top 10 percentile or where do you sit? The second big difference between us and the wearables is for us, the data is not the ending point, but it's just the starting point. Meaning that then what we do with temperature is to start improving your sleep. So we will have your back while you're asleep. And our machine learning models, obviously they will evolve. Think of the Tesla autopilot. Right now, Tesla self-drives up to a certain degree. In the future will be a completely self-driving car. The same thing will happen with temperature for us. So right now, temperature adjusts 4 times in the middle of the night based on certain biometrics and your preferences. But in the near future, something we are already testing internally, temperature will automatically adjust based on your HRV, based on your HR, or based on your respiration, or we will start seeing that you are waking up and we might adjust temperature to help you fall asleep again. So we will start introducing all these factors. Plus, we will control more environmental factors. Think of light and noise and sense, many other factors that can help you improve your sleep performance.
What? Okay, so I'm like ready to go get my credit card here right away. But so your device will adjust temperature kind of on the fly based on inputs. But at the very end there, you said it's, in the future, it might even be able to perceive light pollution.
Yes, I'm actually already sleeping we will start controlling the whole environment. And so you can think of light and noise and sense and air quality and humidity. Because again, our goal is you have these 8 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours, whatever the exact amount will be. We want to maximize your performance. We want to leverage technology to achieve the most during that time. And then there is another thing that we didn't discuss, but it was part of the original pitch, the save your life, which means we have so much space in the bed, right? Which right now is wasted just with foam. We will start introducing more and more sensors. And in the future, we want to scan your body while you're asleep to start detecting certain type of illnesses or just monitoring your biometrics in real time.
Wow, that's amazing. That's crazy. Like, I love this. I mean, you keep name dropping, first of all, Elon Musk, who I already love. So right after that, I'm like, let's do that. Well, I will admit that my glitchy internet is the Starlink internet. We're working on it. It's being beta tested. Anyhow, but what I love about this is, like, when I coach my clients about sleep, which, by the way, I do a lot. I mean, I'm wearing a melatonin necklace for a reason, right?
Right.
So I coach to food first. Sleep is the second thing I coach to. It's like, you got nothing if you don't have quality sleep. Let's work this out. But I'm using the old school, like, make your room dark, make it cool, make it as quiet as you can, wear your blue light blockers, whatever. But one thing I say to my clients is, you know what? Make your bedroom a sleep chamber, like a sanctuary where this is your job when you go into that room. And splurge on linens and whatever, lavender scented pillow satchels. This is all very analog stuff, but what I'm hearing you say is like some point in the future you envision this room of technology where the job is to go in there and crush sleep.
Correct. It's exactly what you said, completely digital and fully automatic based on your biometrics. So it will adjust in real time.
Wow. What a time we live in.
So who's your avatar client? What type of people are investing in and buying into technology? Like, I'm trying to bring all this back to coaches listening who are working with clients that are struggling with sleep. And there will be some that are like, I don't want, I don't want more technology, but there's going to be, what type of client, what type of personality traits? Can you describe a little bit about kind of the avatar client that your product in particular would really be suitable for?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, obviously the demographic is pretty wide, but I would say the core is 25 to 45 years old, health conscious, in technology right now, because we're still a startup that we are growing. But another way to look at that is also to say there are so many connected fitness devices, right? There is Peloton, there is Tonal, Tempo, Mirror, there are all these devices. And these people are already in health and wellness and fitness, and they are already used to a Wi-Fi connected device, but they don't have a partner for their night. We are gonna be that partner for the night. They are already educated, they already have the financial availability to afford the product like ours, and those people are buying the pod, our technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so somebody who's already embraced technology, they tend to be, buyers of it. now.
And health. They are already health conscious. They're already fit. Right. Or trying to be fit. They're already taking care of their body.
Right. So, because here's where, it's funny. Again, I'm just drawing from like my past career. A lot of type A personalities, people that embrace this kind of stuff, certainly have the financial fortitude to afford these things. But where I would like your feedback on this, where I get concerned about things like the best energy drinks out there and all these other devices, where many people are using them as a shortcut in lieu of actually eating better, actually exercising. They're looking for shortcuts in a way to sort of overcome the bad environment that they have found themselves in. So I guess I would love some feedback for you and some thoughts there on how to use a device like this appropriately. Like what has to come first. And like, so for example, from a nutrition point of view, you said you have found that carbs are kind of a double-edged sword. They help you fall asleep, but overall you tend to not get good sleep. And I've heard anecdotally from multiple people, Mark Sisson being one, and my gym partner, even myself, that on a pretty low ketogenic diet, they actually find they need to sleep less once they've actually metabolically transitioned to that dietary strategy. Because in the meantime, you can sleep poorly sometimes. But once they're really humming and everything is in line, they actually find they need less sleep. So I'm wondering if their body's kind of naturally regulating that temperature a little bit better or what have you. But kind of what are your thoughts there on, from a coaching perspective, how clients can continue to help, how coaches continue to help clients take what they really should be doing fundamentally and marrying this with a device like what you've produced to really just create optimization to not just being healthy, but real fitness, right? Real wellness. So sorry, that was kind of a lengthy question, but.
Yeah, I tell you my perspective. And so to me, health is based on three pillars, right? Sleep, nutrition, and fitness. So we spoke about sleep and we'll keep talking about that, but let's jump into nutrition and fitness. So nutrition, to me, I use a CGM, continuous glucose monitor, regularly. Mm-hmm. And I have personalized my nutrition based on that. I also fast every day. I'm on a keto diet. I have been for the past 2 years and a half. I tend to cheat one night per week when I have pizza with my wife. And what I can tell you is that night, I keep seeing glucose spikes in the middle of the night, even if I'm not eating. It's just my body going through the digestive process, and the quality of my sleep drops on Friday night, which is when we usually have this meal. So my number one advice for nutrition is monitor your glucose, which is the simplest thing you can do, yep. And try to avoid spikes. Mm-hmm. Most of the times, one of the best things you can do is a ketogenic diet and fasting. But even there, for example, what I discovered is my wife was not fasting. And I was always saying, oh, why you don't do it? You're lazy. Just push yourself. It's good for you. She tried a CGM, and what we discovered is her glucose levels were dropping way mm-hmm. below 20-30% below the minimum. And so it was not that she was lazy, is that she needed to eat because her body needed to eat. So everything is different for everyone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
On the fitness side, I'm a big fan of high intensity interval training. I think is one of the best cardio things that you can do. And in particular, if you're a busy person, is one of the most efficient. In 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, you can achieve most of what you would achieve, maybe running an hour and a half. And then there are studies recently that prove the importance of strength training. So I always try to mix the two of them. And then you just need to sleep. So to me, is keep your glucose low, do high interval intensity training, weight training, and sleep 7 to 9 hours. And 80-20, you're very likely going to have a healthy and hopefully long life.
Okay. I have two follow-up questions on that. So number one is, have you seen any insights or data from food quality? So we talked about like macro profiles, like glucose does, but in terms of like maybe inflammatory foods, sugar, anything like that?
We didn't as Eight Sleep, but there are a bunch of studies, and there are some athletes that have already looked into that, starting from Tom Brady. Because at the end, it's exactly what you're saying. The key thing is you need to avoid inflammation, because that is what is going to create illnesses, and that is what is going to have an impact on your longevity. So the reason why you don't want to have glucose spikes is because glucose spikes create insulin effect, and they also create an impact in terms of inflammation. And so then you need to look into the food, even if you eat food that doesn't spike your glucose, what is creating inflammation.
Exactly.
And an example in my case is that I discovered with Level Health, this CGM, is that berries are as bad as a pizza for me, which was completely surprising.
Interesting.
The same glucose spike for them, well, instead if I have ice cream, nothing happens to my glucose.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I think that's interesting. I was just thinking, like, this is just completely a non sequitur kind of weird thought I had. We were talking about inflammation. It's like one of the aspects or pieces, functions of inflammation is heat, right? So we think about when we roll our ankle or we get sick, the fever, that heat that's generated is part of the healing process of inflammation. So like if you have an inflammatory diet, then maybe your body temperature runs hotter. Like I just thinking out loud, right? There's some piece of inflammation that maybe we never thought about before. But actually, now that I think about that, I remember I used to run really hot. I'd be the kind of person at like a party, I'd have to like be wearing a tank top, I'd be taking off layers. And then when I cleaned up my diet, I'm a regular temperature person now, right? So there's something to be said about like the thermoregulation piece of inflammatory food. But I think that's interesting because it's you can keep your blood glucose in check eating a ton of keto junk food.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not quality food. And I think the food quality piece I think it's important.
You know, what's interesting, because I wore a continuous glucose monitor and I still do from time to time. And I noticed certain things, some keto processed foods still might raised my blood sugar, even though they were labeled as glucose. Like for me, like I'm trying like inulin in particular, those like, the inulin fibers, the fructooligosaccharides that are supposed to be diabetic friendly spike my blood sugar. I'm fine with like erythritol or stevia, but erythritol can make my gut funny, it can make it rumbly, So, I mean, at the end of the day, I 100% agree with you. Again, if you've got a client that's into technology and has I don't know, I guess if they have not been diagnosed as diabetic, so insurance won't pay for a blood glucose monitor and they can afford like $80 a month for a couple of months to track this stuff, it's super worth it, because you're right. I mean, what you're looking for is that stable glucose level, and the level of carbohydrate and type of carbohydrate is going to differ from person to person to kind of keep that stable. And the more data you can work with, what's just interesting to me is how out of touch we've gotten with our own environment and our own body, that we need these devices in order to kind of get it back.
That's why I bought an Oura ring. Do you know the reason why I bought my Oura ring is because I said, I'm feeling pretty sedentary. I should go get an Oura ring to track my steps. Like, why can't I just say I'm feeling pretty sedentary? I should go for a walk. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah.
Motivation.
Well, that was actually my second question, is on the exercise spectrum and the movement thing. Because everything you're saying is really tracking with kind of what Laura and I anyway believe in terms of like our beliefs around, human health. But this low level non-exercise activity, strolling around, puttering, ambulating, these, this type of movement that nobody's doing enough of. Any insights on how that impacts sleep?
Not so much. I mean, for example, in my case, I do mobility exercises every night before going to bed. And I do it more for longevity than for sleep itself. What happened is that to me, it became a sort of hack to start winding down before going to bed. So it's more like a procedure, 20 minutes before going to bed, a couple of things that I do. But it's not that doing that or not doing that has a direct impact on my sleep. One thing I do that has a major impact on my sleep in general is what I call a thermal shock. And so usually before dinner, I take a shower and I keep switching between hot and cold multiple times, 10 times. Or if you are in an hotel or if you have the opportunity, you could do a sauna and a cold bath. That helps my body to really relax before dinner and then fall asleep faster.
Oh, I was afraid you were going to say that. Why before dinner?
To me, it's a couple of hours before going to bed. So let's say I finish to work when it's time for me to start relaxing, when work is done or whatever I have to do during the day is done. That is the moment where I like it. And then I start winding down.
Part of your wind down routine. I think the wind down routine is really important. I've actually been shifting my focus with my clients on that. Like, let's, rather than kind of making their eyes glaze over with sleep science, like, let's just talk about like, when are you going to close your laptop, and like be really intentional about that, and dim the lights and put on some music, or like 2 to 3 hours before your designated bedtime. That should be designated wind down time. That sounds like an extravagant length of time, doesn't it? Like imagine closing your laptop at 7 p.m. Wow. But like, and that's so crazy that it's actually hard for us to imagine. Like you're beginning your wind down before dinner. To me, that's like, wow, that's so early. But what the heck, right? Like, what is this cultural need to like crush all day and then have this like 15-second wind down and try to get to sleep? I mean, the wind
especially
down
these days, right?
Yeah.
Especially these days with the pandemic and so many people working from home and they have access to work stuff 24/7. Holy cow. In fact, that kind of reminds me of something else I wanted to ask you, because does your device track HRV, or it tracks it through, like if you happen to have an Apple Watch or what have you? Is that your way of being able to kind of gauge stress levels for people and the impact that might have on body heat and an inability to fall asleep or stay asleep? What have you noticed about stress?
So we track HRV on our own with our own device.
Okay.
HRV is a great metric to track your physical stress, not your mental stress. And so let's say today you go and you run for 20 miles, tomorrow your HRV will be really low because your body has a lot of fatigue and it needs time to recover. And so it's a metric that I use a lot, and all our customers, they keep adopting this metric more and more. But it's not correlated to your mental stress. It's not that if tomorrow you have a big job interview, it might, but it might not. But definitely it's correlated to the amount of training and physical fatigue.
Nice. This is cool. This is cool stuff. I enjoy talking about this stuff because, first of all, I am not a huge tracker. I'm not a huge data junkie, but I think it's neat to use technology to optimize. Why not, right? And I also love talking about health topics that are outside of food and exercise. I just think that's fun. So I've enjoyed this conversation immensely. Thank you.
Yeah. So can you tell us about how the device works? Like, what is it exactly, and how it actually functions?
Yeah, we have two form factors. One is a whole mattress. So you go on our website, you buy the mattress, we ship it to your home, you install it. It looks like a mattress, but it's just a device that will enhance sleep. The second form factor is a mattress cover that you can install onto your own mattress and retrofit it. So it's a way simpler way to get into sleep fitness and our technology. The devices are exactly the same outside the form factor, and they do a couple of different things. First, they track everything about your health and sleep. So just by sleeping over it, each side of the bed is completely independent. So if you sleep with a partner, you will have your own metrics and the partner will have its own metrics. And we pick and monitor everything from sleep stages, tossings and turns, wake ups, but also HR, HRV, and respiration. And in the future, much more. And then the other thing that we do, which is our core feature, is we dynamically adjust the temperature of each side of the bed based on your needs and preferences. And that is what really improves your sleep performance. We also have a vibrating alarm, so you can wake up without sound. is a gentle vibration that you can combine with temperature that wakes you up naturally before the set time for your alarm to go off.
Oh, I love that.
A built-in alarm that will raise the temperature and kind of, hello, buzz you awake.
Yeah,
like that.
and vibrates. So there is a gentle vibration, and the temperature changes, and it gets really warm or really cold based on what you want. So we accelerate your heart rate to wake you up before the alarm goes off.
Oh boy. Gosh, this podcast is expensive for me sometimes.
So, do you have to like turn it on? So like you go to bed and you turn it on versus just, the only reason I'm asking, if this is totally selfish, because my husband gets up very, very early, 3 days a week. He's got to be up at like 3:30 in the morning to go coach a very early morning workout class. But then he'll often nap in the middle of the day if he's just, really needs it. So is it going to track all of that the minute you lay on this thing, or are you turning it on when it's time for bed?
No, it does on its own. So, okay. And it learns. Yep.
What? Oh my gosh. I love that. That's so crazy. Like, that's so cool. Like, even that it tracks your tosses and turns. I know you mentioned that a couple of times. I'm thinking the thing that wakes me up in the night that makes me toss and turn is like physical discomfort. If I have a sore knee, or if my cat jumps on my, scratches me. So, but like the fact that it's tracking your restlessness, it's so overlooked, right? That's again, when I get my clients to do their sleep diary, it's like, did you wake up and what do you think woke you up? And, just really cool to have this extra layer of data. Very neat. Wow. Okay. So your company's called 8 Sleep.
Yep.
8sleep.com. And everybody can check the gadgets out there. Where else can they find you? They want to get more information about what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm really active on Twitter. So you can follow me there on the homepage of 8sleep.com. You can find the link to my Twitter profile. And a lot of people write me there, and I try to be responsive.
Wonderful. This is fun. This is a fun conversation. I love this. Thank you so much, Matteo, for teaching us about your approach to improving sleep quality and teaching us a lot about sleep, because we love talking about it.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.
Well, if you've been listening at Health Coach Radio, you'll know that we're all about raising the voices of practicing health, fitness, and nutrition coaches, but most importantly, helping to further legitimize this exploding industry. Erin and I have disclosed often that we're on the faculty of the Primal Health Coach Institute, founded by none other than the health and wellness legend, Mark Sisson. And we've interviewed dozens of guests from just about every different health coaching program you can think of, and who practice in just about any conceivable way you can think of. But our allegiance is to the health coaching industry in its totality, first and foremost. It's our desire to continuously and unapologetically lift and promote this industry that nudged us to create this podcast for you in the first place. It's this same yearning that encouraged us to take the educational offering at our health coaching school to the next level. We are so proud to offer the Primal Health Coach Level 2 certification course, which, when combined with our primary course, the Primal Health Coach certification course, not only satisfies the educational requirements to sit for the board exam, but is specifically designed to teach advanced coaching mastery. You will work closely with a small class of peers through this 12-week, very intensive, live online classroom experience to learn how to execute a coaching relationship that is truly transformational. You'll learn and practice how to ask powerful questions, what it means to hold space for your clients, but most importantly, how to actually do it. You'll learn about the craft of motivational interviewing and the nuances of habit change, goal setting, and accountability. and how to nurture your client's own inner knowing, their intuition, and their own self-efficacy so that they will graduate from your care a truly transformed person. You want a big, successful, powerful coaching practice. And maybe you're devouring our episodes looking for the silver bullet that's going to launch your business into the upper echelons. We've said it a million times and we'll say it again. Your coaching skills are what will make or break you and set you apart for success in this field. So if you're looking to level up your coaching skills and maybe dial up your credential and become a board-eligible health coach, look no further. You can learn more about PHCI's Level 2 program at primalhealthcoach.com/level 2. But if you would value talking to a real person about your path to being a masterful coach and perhaps a board certified coach, book some time with me personally. You can access my calendar at primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or just call me. You can reach me at 844-307-7662. Thank you for listening to Health Coach Radio, and I hope I get to talk to you soon.